We are talking Orioles number 32 pick. Thanks to Gunnar Henderson winning Rookie of the Year last year, the O's got an extra pick early. We'll break down who they take with their second selection of the 2024 MLB Draft coming up on this quick live reaction episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
You are Locked On Orioles, your daily Baltimore Orioles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Orioles fans. Welcome back in. I am, as always, your host, Connor Newcomb. This is the Locked On Orioles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Another special live quick edition of the Locked On Orioles podcast as we continue to break down the 2024 MLB Draft from the Orioles angle. We already talked about the Orioles taking North Carolina center fielder Vance Honeycutt with the number 22 overall pick with their first round selection tonight. Go back and check out that quick reaction show only on our YouTube channel. And these shows are only available to our YouTube subscribers. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Locked On Orioles YouTube channel for plenty more draft content like this all week long. Also had an episode earlier today breaking down the Orioles series against the Yankees. Yes, they did lose the series, but a crazy walk-off win on Sunday allows them to go into the All-Star break with the AL East lead. So broke that all down here on the channel and wherever you listen to podcasts as well. Orioles got Vance Honeycutt with their first pick. A lot of swing and miss in the game, but crazy power, great runner, amazing defender, chance to be a star if they can get that hit tool right. Now they have the number 32 selection. Again, the Orioles got this pick from the Prospect Incentive Promotion Program, really for the new CBA, because Gunnar Henderson was a rookie, was on the opening day roster, and won Rookie of the Year last year. The Orioles were given the 32nd pick. At one point, they also had the 34th pick, but traded it to the Brewers for Corbin Burns. And we have our selection. Griff O'Ferrall is the pick for the Orioles. They take the shortstop out of the University of Virginia. And not a big surprise here. Another college bat goes off the board to the Orioles. Griff O'Farrell, kind of a really interesting selection here on Joe Doyle, on his big board. He had him as the number 42 ranked prospect on his board. The Orioles take him with the number 32 pick. Now, this could be a guy where the Orioles do slide a little bit of a pay cut to save some money in their draft room and then go ahead and spend it on a high school pick elsewhere. The slot value is $2.84 million on this pick, but Griff O'Farrell goes to the Orioles with this selection. This is a shortstop who could certainly stay at this position. It looks like he can play shortstop. He can play second base. And he is known, first of all, as a really, really good defender up the middle, whether he plays either of those positions. That is kind of a theme with the Orioles' two selections now between Griff O'Farrell and Vance Honeycutt. You've got really, really good defenders where these guys have some fairly high floors as players because you know their defense is already major league level. And for O'Farrell, he's also not one of these guys where, yeah, he's a shortstop in college, a great program like Virginia, but you worry, okay, is he just a second baseman in the big leagues? This seems like a guy who can play shortstop at the big league level as well, which I think obviously is a huge bonus for him. O'Farrell, a little bit older, did have 4 years at the University of Virginia in college, but put up some fantastic stats in those seasons, or excuse me, just the 3 years for him at Virginia. But if you look at his 2024 statistics for the Cavaliers, hit .324 with a .367 on base and a .454 slugging. Stats were definitely a little bit down from 2023. And the big thing about his, not a lot of pop in the game, had a career high 5 home runs this season, did have 20 doubles. But the big thing is, here's where he completely differs from Honeycutt. He's the same as Honeycutt because they were both elite defenders at very, very good ACC college programs. The part where he differs is Honeycutt's got crazy power with 28 home runs and a crazy amount of swing and miss. On the flip side, O'Farrell struck out just 24 times all season. In 63 games, he struck out just 24 times with 22 walks and 3 hit by pitches, which means if you combine those two, he had more free passes than strikeouts at the college level this season. Doesn't have Honeycutt level speed, but went 50 for 58 in stolen bases in his 3-year career at Virginia. His big time season, which kind of burst him onto the scene, was 2023. He hit 396 that season for the Cavaliers. Now, he only had one home run, but he still had 20 doubles. He had a good amount of walks, very low strikeouts. He's really an interesting player because, again, he is not the gigantic exit velocity darlings that you see the Orioles take sometimes, but he has these incredible bat to ball skills. And what really, really intrigues me for the Orioles with these two picks is they took two guys that, if you put them together, would be like one of the best players in baseball, right? They would be this insane force. But you take one guy, okay, he's got some swing and miss problems, but crazy power. You take another guy that's got no swing and miss problems, is elite bat to ball, but has some questions about his power. And you have a really, really intriguing draft between those two guys, which I think is kind of a nice way to run this entire thing. Now, when you look at his offense at the end of the day this year, because he didn't have power and there is so much just having to do with power in the college game right now, he ended up with only a 97 WRC plus. Shout out to D1 baseball with the college WRC plus numbers. Although it's not like he was hitting a bunch of soft ground balls. He was still putting the ball in play and he was still getting hits, not necessarily getting himself on base as much as he did in his sophomore season. But you look at the strikeout rate. I mean, a 8% strikeout rate with a 7% walk rate. An 8% strikeout rate is absolutely absurd for Griff O'Ferrall. This is a guy who could be a faster riser in the system because he has such good bat to ball skills, such good defense. He's a guy who, if you're looking for a utility infielder, I mean, maybe by 2026, second half of the season, he could be in the big leagues. He's probably more so a guy that the O's are looking at him as a starter type. He's more of the 2027. But Griff O'Ferrall, definitely an interesting pick, right-handed batter, about 6'1", 185 out of Richmond, Virginia, and a guy who, hey, a little bit different than Honeycutt, but definitely someone who can play the field, has played maybe has the skills. Some scouts think to play a little bit of outfield, maybe corner outfield if they needed him to, but someone who is kind of a safer pick. And again, if I had to guess, this could be somewhat of an underslot selection, and look for the Orioles with maybe their second or third round picks to go and get a high school guy that potentially they can throw a little bit more money to, or a younger college guy to get him to sign instead of go back to school. But Griff O'Ferrall, definitely a guy who high ceiling, good defender, bat to ball skills, hit almost 400 in his sophomore year, and a nice little infield pickup for the bottom part of the Orioles system. Thank you so much for tuning into this live draft coverage. Once again, it will not be going live for the Orioles' last pick of the night. They pick at number 61 overall with their second round selection. That might be a little bit past my bedtime to go live, but don't worry. Be back with another episode on Monday evening. We'll be recapping every pick the Orioles make in the first 2 days of the draft, rounds 1 through 10, 11 players total. We'll break them all down on the episode on the main feed on Monday evening. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Locked On Orioles podcast. Remember, subscribers specifically are going to get exclusive draft coverage over the next few weeks. Vance Honeycutt with their first pick, Griff O'Ferrall with their second, a couple of high floor position players with some real talent, different kind of talent at the plate, both out of great programs, College World Series programs in the ACC. And I'm definitely excited to see these two guys who will probably start in Delmarva, you would think, begin their professional careers with the Orioles this season. Back tomorrow. Until then, I'm Connor Newcomb. This has been a special, quick live edition of the Locked On Orioles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.